The whole reason I wanted to start that way is because I wanted to get it out of the way.
Yes.
I don't want to talk about that the whole time because it wasn't the reason Tennessee lost the game. It's a problem, and it's something that needs to be addressed, and I think at some point, this is never going to happen. This is never going to happen, and I hope it does. I hope I'm wrong. But coaches and players are required to go to a press conference after the game. In the NFL, they're fined if they don't show up to the press conference. Referees influence games, walk back to the break room or whatever it is, get their to-go box and leave, and are police escorted back to the airport or the hotel or wherever they're supposed to go, never to be heard from again until eventually one of the good ones becomes a Fox or ESPN rules analyst, where they, a lot of the time, disagree with the call on the field. So the people that are making these decisions, as a sports media major, I am a sports reporter for a website here in Nashville, covering 9 Middle Tennessee counties. So as a member of the media, I especially think that referees should be available to the media. We should be allowed to ask these people what went through your head there. What was the reasoning behind this call? It would be educational for everyone. And if they have a legitimate reason, for their sake, they should be able to get it out so that people like me aren't on the radio complaining about them for the next week. So if they have a legitimate reason, they should be available to the media to give that legitimate reason. If they don't, they should have to answer to that.
Absolutely. I mean, if the players and the coaches who are the ones calling the plays and on the field, if they're required to come and do pressers and talk to the media, then why are the referees not, like you mentioned earlier?
It's ridiculous that there's no accountability whatsoever. And they can say, like the SEC office does, like the grades or whatever. What happens if they get a bad grade? They don't get to do the primetime game next week. If the officials are concerned about whether or not their game is on primetime or national television, that's all the problem right there. They shouldn't care what game they're officiating. They shouldn't care what channel it's on because it's not about them. And so if whatever the disciplinary action is for getting what would almost certainly be an F on Saturday night in the Swamp is that they have to go officiate like Vandy and UNLV this past weekend, if that was a home game for Vandy, like if that referee crew got knocked down to doing the Vandy UNLV game, hypothetically, and that was an actual punishment, like those referees are like, man, we didn't want that one. That is a problem. And so that concerns me that it seems like the disciplinary action is like you don't get to be in the spotlight because they shouldn't be concerned about that in the first place. I think accountability with the media would be a huge step towards getting it right, but also the way that we officiate football is kind of crazy when you think about the technology that we have. Because if the people in the booth are like, oh, that's very clearly a touchdown, we can see it on the screen, let's go down to the guy that just had his head under a hood for 5 minutes and see what he thinks, and then he says that it was out, and that's what we go with when all of America can see that it was a touchdown. Why are we still doing this? They can pinpoint the exact position of a tennis ball on a tennis court, and we're using a chain gang, we're just eyeballing it on the sideline. Like, there's laser technology in like soccer balls to see if it crosses the goal line in soccer. Why do NFL footballs not have the laser technology? We're just trusting these guys on the sideline to be like, looks like he was down about there. Y'all make sure you don't move for the next 15 minutes, and then if we need you, we'll call you out to run in an exact straight line half of a football field. Just make sure you don't sway one side to the other because those 2 inches are really going to matter.
Yeah.
So moving forward, it is going to be the policy of this show to push for referee accountability post-game. There should be press conferences, and we should just go ahead and get rid of them altogether and use laser technology and replay.